10 years ago, a group of antiques experts from all over Britain came here to Hereford to make a television programme. It was, for most of them, a unique experience, not least because few had any knowledge of television, and the programme they were to record that day had never been tried before. The experiment, for that's what it was, had the working title Antiques Roadshow. And the recording here in Hereford that day posed a number of questions. Would anything more than a handful of local people turn up, and even if they did, would they bring with them antiques of sufficient merit and interest to make good television entertainment? Well, now, some 90 programmes later, we can look back and say all those questions have been answered in the positive. Yes, many hundreds, indeed thousands of people come along to our Antiques Roadshows, and they bring with them an extraordinary collection of the interesting, the rare, the valuable, and sometimes the bizarre. This programme marks the beginning of our 10th anniversary series. It's an affectionate look back over those years on the road. The first presenter of the Antiques Roadshow was Bruce Parker. Bruce presented the series that firmly established the popular appeal of the programme.
A sort of fiddle with a gramophone attachment.
He was telling me all about...
Next came Angela Rippon. Already well known as a television journalist and newsreader, Angela spent 2 enjoyable years with the show.
Guernsey, and he was telling me...
But the one person who more than any other was responsible for making antiques a popular television subject was that doyen of experts, Arthur Negus.
What your age is? 72. Oh, I can beat you. You shouldn't be sure. Oh, you're a youngster. I don't like that. That's nice too, isn't it? Look at that now.
Arthur seemed always to enjoy a great rapport with the public, and we'll be seeing more of him later in this programme. I'll also be speaking to our regular experts who'll be recalling some of their favourite moments, and hopefully we'll be jogging a few memories for you at the same time. Now, I'm often asked why I think it is that the Antiques Roadshow is so popular, and I always say, with one word, it's because of the people who come along to our programmes on the day. It's their enthusiasm and unfailing good humour.
Well, one thing we're always taught is never pick anything up by the handle, because you end up holding the handle and the pot's dropped on the floor.
I'll never do it again.
You never, well, no, that's perfectly true.
And that unfortunate incident happened shortly before the item was recorded for the programme. But it hasn't been the only sorry tale we've heard over the years.
There's only one minor problem here, and that is this chip on the end of the handle, which is, I'm afraid, going to affect the value.
But this is what I did. I usually carry it around in my bag when I've got my demonstrations, and that's how I chipped it.
Oh, well, that's very sad. Before the chip, I would have thought it might have fetched about £400, and now it's probably going to would fetch about 250.
I took it down off the wall most carefully, propped it up against the wall while I looked my car key, and the dog knocked it over. He's getting a bit old and blind, and walked on it, so we've got a hole in it.
Oh, goodness. Well,
so it's just as well that we're often able to pass on some very good news indeed.
Yes, I feel very jealous. I think a vase like this would be worth in the region of, I think, 1,500?
Oh, it really took my breath away.
My friends are over there. Did you hear that? Ring Gina and tell her.
After all these years on the roadshow, and is there anything that still surprises you?
Well, yes, the extraordinary places that people come up with things. I suppose attics are fairly common, but they find them under the bed, in cardboard boxes, behind the panelling, all sorts of places. Really quite extraordinary. Well, this is an absolutely remarkable object. Have you owned it for a long time?
Quite a few years, yes, but it's only really come to light. It was found in a relative Spence.
What's a Spence?
Well, it's the cupboard under the stairs.
Really?
Yes, it's what we call informal. It's the cupboard that everything gets pushed under.
Where was it?
It was hung in my uncle's hen house.
That's extraordinary.
So how did you come across it? Because it's not the sort of thing one finds every day, is
It
it?
was in an old outhouse, in the roof of an old outhouse, with a stone wall between there was a shed in the roof of the outhouse, and this was behind the wall.
It was actually in
the roof space.
Extraordinary. It was bricked in so that nobody could find it.
Stone wall, actually.
So I bought a second-hand hi-fi system, and the speakers are housed in these buckets.
I'm sorry, you bought a second-hand hi-fi outfit, and the speakers were in here?
That's right, that's right.
You
The
got
rest
another
of
one?
the equipment, the radio, the amplifier was in a cabinet, and the speakers are in two buckets such as this.
Can I ask you how much you gave for this wonderful hi-fi outfit?
Well, not so long ago, I asked my wife what we paid. She thought we paid £400 for the whole system, but that, of course, is a complete system, and these would be a minor part, I would have thought. I would have thought.
I would say that if you, in fact, what you ought to do is to insure them. You've got a pair of peat buckets, as I've described, and they should be insured for £2,500. That's probably the best deal you'll ever do. I'm going into the business of looking after hi-fi equipment. Never mind antiques.
The one consistent characteristic of the Antiques Roadshow over the past 10 years has been its total unpredictability. As we look down now on that crowd and those brown paper parcels and carrier bags, we have no idea whatever what they contain. Nor does there seem to be any noticeable regional variation. In other words, we're as likely to find a piece of Exeter silver in Newcastle as we are Sunderland bluster in Cornwall. Unpredictable in terms of age range too. It's perhaps been a surprise to discover that the young seem just as interested in the nostalgia associated with antiques as their parents and grandparents.
Where does she come from?
Well, it was my dad's aunt's, but it's supposed to be my great-great-great aunt.
Great-great-great aunt. Well, that would take us probably back to about 1860-ish. And do you know anything about how she got hold of the doll?
It was supposed to be bought in France, I think, and because somebody had got, a father had gone, the great-great-great-aunt's father had gone on a business trip and brought that back.
What, as a present for his daughter?
As a present for his daughter.
Well, she must have been a pretty careful child, because it looks as if it hasn't got a mark on it, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know whether do you have any dolls at home yourself that you actually play with?
Yes, but I don't have any. Yes, I don't have any antique dolls I play with.
And have you been collecting long, these?
Since I was like.
How long ago was that?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And did you buy this one yourself?
Yes, I bought it at John's sale, 10p.
Well, you picked on a very rare one. One of these was sold in 1977 at Sotheby's for £170. Now, I suspect that if it came up for sale now, it would be well over £200. It's a very, very rare one.
How super! Where did you get that from?
It belonged to my great-granny.
And where did she get it, do you think?
Well, we think she went to Turkey.
And she got it from Turkey?
Yes.
Because you know it's Russian, don't you?
Yes.
Medals are good, especially ones like this, which I'm very pleased to say that you haven't cleaned. They had a fair amount of cleaning in their time for parades and things like that, and because they've got this nice dark tarnish, they're really very desirable things, and it means they're not being touched, and people like that.
Well, you brought it today for the experts to look at it. What did they tell you about it?
Well, they said to us that her teeth had been stuck on, and her eyes were weighted so that they move, and she's got real hair.
She's got a mark on the back, hasn't she, which tells you where it was made?
Yeah.
Shall we just have a look in the back there? Yes, that tells you that it was made
in Germany.
And she's actually very, very good condition, but they told you something about the face and the cracks, didn't they?
About a third of the value was knocked down because of the face that was cracked. Well, it broke.
She looks as if she's been in the wars a bit, though, doesn't she? She has been knocked around a bit. Well, what are you going to do with her now? Because you've had her just 3 years, and she's, we know, well over 100 years old. So what are you going to do with her?
I'm going to keep her in my mum's cupboard, and then I'm going to pass it down the family.
Well, I suppose, looking at all those children, it does ring such bells with me. I mean, the children come in, they're very interested in antiques, I think, a lot of them. When I first started doing the road shows, I thought, oh, poor little devils, they're being dragged in by their parents. But not a bit of it, and if you actually include them in the conversation, they know an awful lot, you know, great-great-great-grannies, and back it goes. They're interested, they're very curious, all eyes, looking around to see what's happening, and in fact, remarkably, calm in front of the cameras, often much calmer than their parents would be. So,
is there anything in particular that will remain in your mind from all the things you've seen?
I think it has to be the automaton that I saw at Bognor. I haven't seen one as large as this outside the museum, and I also haven't seen one which has quite as many movements or is in such good condition. What is so nice, of course, is that it's in its original clothing. It hasn't been redressed at any stage. And altogether, he's looking very impressive, I think. He's got his lace cuffs and so on. He has a variety of movements, some of them more complex than others, and would have been made in France round about 1880, which, I don't know, might fit in with something that you already know about its past history. When did you get it?
It was bought by my grandfather at an auction sale, a big house in Kent, for my youngest aunt when she was 3 years old, and that was 1897.
That ties up nicely, doesn't it?
Yes. To actually put a value on an item like this is difficult because, as I said, it's a really museum piece. But I would have thought at an auction he should realise between £6,000 and £8,000.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Well, David, of all the experts, it's often fallen to you to give people some very good news, and you seem to enjoy it, I must say.
Yes, I must say, Hugh, I have been very, very lucky over the 9 years I've done the programme. I really have been fortunate in turning up some very valuable pictures. And of course, one can never know for sure how they're going to react.
Looking now at the other side of things, is there anything over the years that you haven't seen on a roadshow that you would dearly love to have done?
That, Hugh, is quite simple. A genuine John Constable.
Now here we have a particularly interesting picture. I see from the tablet, it's entitled A Summerland by John Constable, R.A. Well, of course, every art dealer dreams that one day he's going to discover a constable. Now, I know of two examples of this subject by Constable. One of them in the Mellon collection in America, and the other in the Tate Gallery. And in fact, both of them are well documented.
Sadly, despite extensive research by David Mason, that particular painting was relegated to the ranks of the ordinary. But little setbacks like that have never deterred our visitors. The constables keep coming.
Of course, if it was a constable, it would be worth a great deal of money. I mean, because it's the size it is, it would be very rare on the market to find, so it would be anybody's guess. It could be $500,000 to $1 million. But as a Joseph Paul, which is most doubtedly is, it would probably be worth between £2,000 and £3,000.
And has there been speculation over the years as to whether it is in fact by John Constable?
Well, people have looked at it and said, well, it certainly looks like a constable, but
the condition of it is not particularly good with this cracking, and it has suffered over the years, but it is a lovely composition. And of course, when one looks at a picture like that, one is reminded of the artist Hobbema, who was a 17th century Dutch artist, and Hobbema was the artist that very much influenced John Constable, which doesn't mean, incidentally, that this is a John Constable, because it's not a John Constable, but what it is a Norwich school picture, probably by Crome the Younger. An informed expert can tell you quite definitely, without any shadow of doubt, that this is absolutely nothing to do with John Constable.
How can you be absolutely sure without an X-ray?
Believe me, in the same way as if you get a letter from a member of your family, you don't have to read the signature at the bottom of the letter to know who it's by. You recognize the way the words are phrased, you just know it's from a member of your family. But anyway, I do appreciate you bringing it in, and I've enjoyed the lively discussion.
You can't tell me who it is?
No, I can't tell you who it is, but I can tell you it's not a Constable. If it was a Constable, £3 million plus.
Could it be a what?
It would have... No, it's definitely not F.W. Watts.
Could it be a Paul?
A Paul? John Paul, one would be getting towards John Paul. If it's not Constable, it's not Watts, one could say that it's more in the style of Paul than anybody else. I would say, off the cuff, that the painting would have a value of between £4,000 and £5,000 because it's the most impressive picture.
It is.
Well, we all hope that David is rewarded with a real Constable before too long. Now, for every item that you see in the programme, our experts will have sifted through many thousands of objects, not all of them antique by any means, and it's often a tiring and time-consuming business.
And at the end of the day, one has been talking solidly for I don't know how many hours. But not only talking, but your mind is constantly changing from one category to another, to one country to another, to identifying a manufacturer, to different prices. And I'm absolutely wiped out for a couple of days afterwards. I mean, I really am very tired at the end of a roadshow.
7 gallons.
Yes.
The incredible thing is it's thrown by hand. It's a hand-thrown pot. It's terribly heavy to hold.
Yes.
And the handle put on separately. But it's a superbly handmade piece. Can I have a look at the bases? Yes. Oh, dear. It's even fatter than me, this pot. That's saying something.
But it wasn't exactly the largest of antiques that set the pulses racing for Henry Sandon on a visit to Cornwall.
How did you acquire it?
I bought it at a car boot sale.
The car boot sale?
Yes.
What, down locally here?
Yes, only down the road.
Did you really? How much did you pay for it?
25 pence.
25 pence? I don't know if you have any idea what it's worth.
No, I haven't really.
Well, it's one of the most exceptionally rare things that I've seen in a very long time. It's quite unusual. Lord knows what its value is. I suppose in auction, it's probably going to fetch over £1,000.
Oh, crikey.
I would insure it, perhaps, for something like £1,500.
Oh, I don't want to handle it now, in case I drop
well,
it.
I don't drop it.
Going round a tree.
We see countless numbers of mechanical items on the Antiques Roadshow, many of them musical. But the most intricate of them are surely clocks and watches. They all have to pass close examination under the experienced eyes of either Simon Bull or Richard Price.
We see the usual run-of-the-mill things on every show. Lots and lots of Swiss cylinder watches late last century, and a lot of gold presentation watches probably early 20th century. But as a general rule, if somebody comes in with something wonderful in the clock and watch line, new, it was a highly expensive thing. So it follows that generally the very expensive clocks and watches are still in the sort of homes that they were made for.
For me, at least, keeping time with the Antiques Roadshow has meant learning a whole new vocabulary. Previous knowledge did not extend much beyond the big hand and the little hand, but now there are spandrels and sprockets, bezels and balance springs, escapements, chapter rings, pallets, arbors, and Vienna regulators. We've learnt how time revolutionized navigation at sea and ensured the faithful were in time for mass and morning service. And we can now distinguish between a mantle and a carriage clock, a lantern and a skeleton. We've learnt, too, that a grandfather is more accurately called a long case. Though 10 years of time for us on the Antiques Roadshow have passed all too quickly. Over those years on the road, we've seen such a wide variety of objects that on occasion even the experts are baffled, as Henry Sandon is willing to admit.
Yes, many, many times. One sort of scratches one's head and says, I don't know what it is, but it's lovely. Thank you very much for bringing it. But, oh, you see something new every day. There's, I mean, anybody who thinks they know it all really just doesn't know anything.
I mean, it's been beautifully made, obviously for no purpose whatsoever.
It's one of those things that when I was a small boy, I used to bring things home and I used to say to my father, "What's that for, Dad?" And he'd always have this. He always has this answer, and he'd say, "Son, that's a thing of purpose."
Yes.
And for years I used to walk away thinking, "Oh, great, it's a thing of purpose." You know.
Have you shown it to anyone here?
No.
Haven't you really? Well, I haven't got a clue.
Oh, yes, I have, and he said he didn't know what it was and asked us to show it to you.
Well, I truthfully have no idea what that is.
Have you any idea what it is?
None at all.
Have you had it for a long time?
I've had it about 15 years. I found it on a rubbish dump.
You found it on a rubbish dump?
Good sound too.
It's a dance mask of the gentle, beautiful lady of the Mwo Society.
No, I think the idea is, you see, watch it go like that, and then down, and you touch. You see, I wonder if that was it or not.
Well, true love, flirtation, coldness. Well, this is a test.
And also there would be a wider...
No.
Do you know what that is, Eric?
Eric, what's this?
Weird thing.
Find one of these, you know.
What do you use it for?
But you see, I like funny things, and I like the #1 goblin teas made, because that's exactly what this thing is. It's not electric, of course. It's lost the little spirit heater here, but you filled the urn with water, boils over it goes into the tea, siphons back as it cools, you turn the tap on, and there's a lovely cup of tea.
Milk and sugar, 1 lump or 2. No one on the Antiques Roadshow could be in any doubt that we're a nation of tea drinkers, judging by the extraordinary range of containers created to either make, serve, drink or store what many would regard as the true amber nectar. There are few things quite like taking tea from the best silver or porcelain, especially if it's your own. And this, if you didn't know it, is called a Lazy Susan. Tea caddies in every shape and size, often silver, sometimes wood, but I can't quite imagine anyone storing their humble tea bags in these elegant containers. Perhaps it's our national passion for tea that's led to rare items like these remaining in private hands rather than museums, though many a curator would love to have them.
I've seen some teapots in my time, but this has to be one of the craziest teapots I've ever seen.
For me, this is the most exciting object I've seen on any roadshow.
Well, that's really exciting for me.
It's absolutely marvellous. It's Japanese earthenware, what's called satsuma ware, and it's a fantastic example of its kind. The body is enamelled and gilt in the most wonderful way with Tokugawa Mon, which are the badges of the princely house of Tokugawa. And the spout and the handle are just one sinuous dragon, brilliantly modelled. I mean, you can see it's almost alive. And colour comes off, it's a ewer for wine or water. And this, to me, is what makes it so exciting. We have here the maker's mark of Masanobu, who was one of the great enamellers. I mean, we've seen his work before.
Yeah.
And this is what's called a kakihan down the bottom, which is his personal signature. But this is what makes it really so exciting. We have here an actual date of the making of the piece. And it says Bunkwa, and then 2 Nen, which is the 2nd year of Bunkwa, which makes it 1806.
So you can date it as closely as that?
We can date it as closely as that. The 2nd year of that particular Nengo, which is a period.
Yes.
And it's therefore of great age. As to what it's worth today, it's a bit problematical. This particular type of ware, the Satsuma, rose dramatically in about 1972-3 and peaked at that point and then slumped. And the moment is beginning to rise again. And at the moment, I should think this is probably worth about £600 to £800.
As much as that?
Mm-hmm. It's my belief that this particular type of ware is going to prove in the long term an extraordinarily good investment. I'm sure it has got a long way to go. It is so good. It is so fantastically well modelled and potted and coloured. And I'm convinced that in years to come, we're going to look back on these prices and think, if only we'd bought some.
Well, David, you're making the point there that values don't always go up at all.
No, they don't. I mean, people have got this idea that an antique, you put it on the shelf and you can watch the graph going nicely up. Well, it's not like that at all. It's subject to all the pressures that you get in the stock market, to fashion, to all kinds of things. And in fact, that particular object, I then said she ought to hang on to it because it had dropped or stood still. Today...
Which is what, 5 years later or so?
5 years later.
Yeah.
We're back, more than back, to where we started. In fact, I think it would probably make £2,000 today. So if she took my advice and kept it, she's well in.
Military history has provided many fascinating items over the years, some rare indeed. Roy Butler recalls finding one such piece in Berkshire.
There was a canteen of cutlery, you know, at Newbury, and it was personalised to Napoleon I. And it was delightful to see. The lady told me afterwards that she bought it or her husband had bought it 30 years before, at an auction, as Napoleon's. The escutcheon, the silver escutcheons, bear the crowned end of Napoleon.
Napoleon, yes.
And it certainly wouldn't be Napoleon III, and you could discount Napoleon II, and this is a campaign set, which any officer might carry, except this one is more illustrious because it's made of hallmark French silver. We have his knife, fork and spoon for his general food. We have a little condiment set here for pepper, and no doubt with the lid missing, the salt.
Is the one inside
a lid?
Isn't it?
Oh yes, oh yes. Surprise, surprise, it's all there. So this no doubt would be for the salt. And then of course a beaker. But the whole thing is so very, very interesting. Officers...
And interest in anything to do with Napoleon is now so great that a set of cutlery like that would today fetch over £2,000.
Yes. Because I don't think there's a
Whitworth screw on there.
Now, the furniture you see on an Antiques Roadshow doesn't just arrive precariously strapped to the owner's roof rack. No, we make our own arrangements to bring these larger items to the show. Over the years, John Bly has told us about many fine pieces, but there's one in particular he remembers more than any other.
Oh, yes, it's got to be the commode in the Isle of Man, you know, that wonderful piece of English furniture made in the French style. It's not a commode, a chest of drawers of such superb quality. But the interesting thing was, when it first came in, I thought it couldn't be right. It couldn't be a true piece. It had to be a reproduction. They are so rare. And gradually, it was like detective work. We uncovered one clue and then another, and in the end, it actually proved itself to be 18th century. But it was a marvelous experience. It's a piece of furniture that is of national importance, and even on international scale. It was made by one of 3 or 4 people, possibly a man called Pierre Langlois. We think that he went back to France in 1773 and stayed there. It may be that it was one of his pupils, it may be that it was certainly in his style that this was done. Now, as soon as one can attribute a maker to it, of course, then you start to add a great deal of money onto the value of a piece of furniture. Because if you put this into a sale, and it would have to be sold with a great deal of advice, then it could realize 35 to 40,000 pounds, and one day it is going to end up eventually costing probably double that.
No wonder you asked me to sit down.
And that marvellous chest of drawers was subsequently sold at auction for £50,000. But what would it make in 1987?
I should think 100,000.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's doubled in just those few years?
It's doubled in a few years, yeah. And a wonderful thing.
And very much the kind of furniture that Arthur would have loved. He didn't love everything, but that was right up his street.
But when he did, he loved it in every sense. I mean, he actually felt for it. He had that wonderful, unique way of actually communicating with the furniture and with people.
And it's what we call lively. And if I lift up this thing, you'll see now what I mean by lively. All the legs are turned, all the stretchers are turned. Yeah. In fact, it's very, very busy down there. And this puts pounds on this table. So that's a nice table. Look at that. I think they're absolutely marvellous. I do really. Walking sticks.
Gin stick.
Gin sticks?
Yes.
You made it on screws?
That's right.
Yes.
The container is here and the glass for drinking is in the top.
I know what's going to happen.
But there won't be any gin in it.
Well, you've had it. Now, look at that. Nice way of going for a walk and refreshing yourself. And we got the little tumbler thing in here.
Yes.
Yes. Well, gin's a nice drink, isn't it?
Yes, it wouldn't hold very much so, would it?
And look at that. Now, that's the feature of it, of course. Turns itself into a 3-tier dumbwaiter. And my word, that by any standards is a very, very nice article. You can understand why I like this.
Yes.
And that's absolutely untouched from the day that was made. That's never been altered in any way. And goes down, look here, and look here. Well, I'm glad you brought this because I can just imagine the envy of a certain friend of mine named John Arlott. Yes. He watches this program from Alderney to think what a lucky man he is to be able to see a bat like this. I'm glad you got WG on top. He talks about WG as though he's a friend of his. Isn't it beautiful? It really is fantastic. And I should think this is a cabinet which in auction would bring about £10,000. You're still standing up, all right?
Oh, only just.
Only just.
Yes.
Well, it is...
Though rarely lost for words, we did find Arthur in a more reflective mood at Bognor Regis in 1980.
Well, you know, I would like all the things. There's no doubt about that. I think I've enjoyed almost everything. But perhaps one young man I enjoyed, quite a young fellow with a tool chest, and he was filling it up with old tools. And he was telling me how he used these various old things, and he'll be all right one day. He'll be a jolly good cabinet maker. Now, you see, as a man who you can nearly hear him saying it, I'd take my tools away in a box like this. I'll make a little fittings to go in here, all in mahogany, all banded with satin wood, everywhere little satin wood bands, and then even a bit more, little black and white stringing with broken corners, everyone made the same. Some drawers only sham, simulated drawer fronts, other drawers fitted like this. Little drawers, all got tools, rules, odds and ends, everything made. And I might say we've almost stripped the base of this and got some tools at the back here. This is interesting, just interesting to me, because I like to see things which marry up. This box, I suppose, was made, say, in 1790, 1800, just about there. This map, which I've stuck on the deal, has a date down the bottom, 1804. Now, what's in here?
Well, that's another compartment, Arthur, with
yes.
A few more tools.
Let's have a deco. Time I get this out, it'll all be broken, but it'll be all right. Oh, Lord, that takes me back. Lord, 60 years.
Yeah.
When I used to come home from school, my father would be in a workshop like you would. Perhaps he'd join two bits of wood together like this, and he said, just come and help, just put this hand screw on there, and as to screw it down tight, tighter you get it. I thought, lovely. I used to say, these two arms must be parallel. You know that.
Yes, I know.
Otherwise, there's no strength. So to take them off, good Lord, I fancy all that while ago.
And that item, I know, remains a favourite with many people, myself included. Now, the one thing we all keenly anticipate on the Antiques Roadshow is that moment, impossible to predict, when something very rare or exciting is discovered. It happened most recently in Barnstable. The expert on that occasion was Peter Nahum, and the item was a painting.
That was the one, wasn't it? The band, that's the one we all hoped for. This is the most extraordinary, mystic and unusual watercolour. What can you tell me about it?
Well, not very much. It's been in the family for quite a while. My grandfather gave it to my mother in 1930. And basically, it's been up in the loft most of the time. And we've no idea. We were just curious because we didn't know who painted it.
And where did the family come from?
They're from Manchester. And my grandfather's name was Phillips. And of course, he mentions Phillips on the back.
And but do you have any connection with Sir Thomas Phillips?
I don't think so. We don't even know who he is.
Now, it is an extraordinary painting. I don't know who this painting is by. I know it's a wonderful painting. I would hope that some indications, I mean, it would be too much to hope, really, that this was a lost painting by Richard Dad.
But a lost painting by Richard Dad it turned out to be, called Artist's Halt in the Desert. Peter Nahum's research quickly established that he'd rediscovered a lost masterpiece. A week later, he went to see the owners in North Devon to break the good news.
So I suppose we're going to have to think about some sort of value on the painting.
Well, you know, as we said, we didn't think it was worth very much. Well, we didn't go for valuation. We were just curious
well, we're
about.
Curious, who had painted it, and
we are now.
Yes.
If it is valuable.
Yes. Well, it is an international treasure, a lost picture, and I feel that it could possibly make somewhat over £100,000.
Oh my goodness!
I hope it's safe.
Indeed it was, and now, if anything, even safer, because the couple subsequently decided to sell the picture, and it was bought by the British Museum for Peter Nahum's original valuation of £100,000. So an important national collection acquired a major picture. Our couple in Barnstable had a substantial retirement nest egg, and the Antiques Roadshow its best ever find. A good result, you might say, for all concerned.
It's extremely difficult. You sure it's all here?
John?
Yes, I did.
The one thing we try to make sure the Roadshow doesn't become is simply a catalogue of very valuable items. Indeed, quite a few of the things we see on the Antiques Roadshow aren't of great value. They are, however, interesting in their own right, and quite often, simply fun.
It's absolutely infuriating.
When they told me that we got an old geezer to look at, I must admit I had to...
You thought it'd be an old boiler?
I mean, don't tell me you keep this in your front living room.
No, no.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see.
In the garage.
In the garage?
Yeah.
Are you using it today?
No, the wife won't have it in the house.
sure.
Eric, who's your friend?
Well, he may look Churchillian, but he is in actual fact French.
Made for what reason? A toy or?
Made primarily as a toy, yes. You can stroke him, he's quite harmless. Quite harmless.
You put your fingers in the little slots there.
Yes.
And the circle is lined with chamois leather. Go like this.
Wonderful.
Automatically pops the fingernails.
And it's ideal for the Antiques Roadshow experts, you know, because once or twice they've been criticised for the state of their fingernails.
Oh, well.
You can stroke him, he's all right, he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind.
Just a tickle, not a real shock.
Go a bit faster, make your hair curl.
Isn't that extraordinary? Actually, it does give you a bit of a jump.
Well, there's a magnet. Can I take that out and give you another go?
No, I think that's quite enough. Thank you very much.
You dip this in the water.
Right.
Put your thumb on this hole.
Yes.
Fill it up and then lift it up over your head.
And then let
release
go.
and the water comes out.
During this look back over our 10 years on the road, you've heard many of the experts single out particular items that they've enjoyed. For myself, I must say it's very difficult. There is so much we seem to have had an embarrassment of riches. But if pressed, I would have to single out one particular programme from Watford. And the reason was this picture.
My first thought when we put this beautiful picture on the easel was it was by Mark Fisher. But it's not Mark Fisher. Who is it by?
It's by my grandfather, James Henry Charles.
James Henry Charles.
Yes.
Who was born by 1850 and died in the early days of the century.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
1906 he died.
I do know his work. I've seen a lot of it because he was a very representational Victorian painter of village scenes.
This was my...
That would be your grandmother?
This is my grandmother and two of his children. Therefore, they're my aunts.
Your aunts?
Yes.
Didn't he have a rather large family?
Yes, he had 12 children.
12 children?
12 children, yes. And my father was the 10th of the 12, yes.
Because it's the most enchanting picture. Now tell me, 15 years ago, all these sort of English paintings were 50 to 150 pounds. Now, have you any idea what that is worth today?
Well, I have a little bit idea that
it's for insurance valuation.
Yes, yes.
Well, I should put £10,000 on it.
Gracious.
And we weren't alone in our admiration for that beautiful picture. A greetings card company liked it so much they asked the owner for permission to reproduce it, a permission she gladly gave. Well, I've no doubt you'll be pleased to hear we're now busy recording our 11th series of the Antiques Roadshow, and among the places we visit is Bristol, our own home city. Though perhaps a rather unusual location, we're in the railway station that Brunel originally built at Temple Meads.
6,000! Grief!
And there's a rather special programme too, from Dublin. The first time we've taken an Antiques Roadshow outside the British Isles.
I'm amazed. I say.
Just a brief glimpse of delights to come in the new series of the Antiques Roadshow, which you'll be able to see on BBC One starting in January. Until then, from all of us who've taken part in these programmes over the past 10 years, goodbye.